can't remember, but one sheriff said, you mean when they're putting wolves into our state and I was sitting there with a gun and shooting all the wolves, I would be within my rights? And I'd say, yes, you are. Okay. But now, so everything's going great in my life. I'm still at Provo PD. I'm getting promoted. And you know what happens when things are going great? The in-laws call. And my wife's parents call, and they want me to move home to Arizona. Both my wife and I are from southern Arizona, right in the same area. And they want me to move home. I've already got 11 years on with Provo. I can retire in 9 years and then move home and run for sheriff. Oh no, they didn't want anything to do with that. They want me right now. We're going to have a corrupt sheriff unless you come home and run for sheriff. And I said, well, running and winning are two different things. And I said, we're not coming. And this is the first time in our married lives that my wife agreed with me. Her parents were crazy. Okay? And so finally, they had other people calling and lobbying me to run. And I told my wife, I said, look, let's just list all the reasons why we can't do this and list all the reasons why, okay, the pros and cons. We wanted to be fair. But we only came up with 2 reasons why it would be a good idea. And 23 reasons why we could not do it. And we set it down to them. And 3 weeks later, we moved home and ran for sheriff. Absolutely true story. And I ran, but you need to remember, this was a pretty miraculous deal. I'd never been a cop in Arizona. I'd never been in law enforcement in my hometown. My dad had served as an FBI agent there, and that was it. But I did have 11 years law enforcement experience in Utah, and that's what I ran as. And I won. And then in 1992, I was reelected. Then in 1993, towards the end of 1993, Bill Clinton started, and I know this is going to shock you, maybe even cause you a little bit of a dismay. He started lying. But it was okay, because you know why? It was for the children. It was for the children. So it was about the Brady Bill. And he was saying, one of the things I remember he said that just really, I'm just sitting, I remember watching that, I go, good grief, that guy is a liar. And he said that the Brady Bill would make our country so safe that cops wouldn't even need to carry guns anymore.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So, but I wasn't going to sue over that.
Sheriff Mack.
But then on January 21st,
Mack.
1994, 3 federal agents show up to a Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix.
Is everything okay?
We only have 15 counties in Arizona.
No, he's going to be done speaking in about 15 minutes, and then I'll call him.
So many counties. But anyway,
is everything okay?
12 sheriffs are at this meeting, and 3 agents.
Yeah, just tell him I'm filming.
Hand us a
and
document.
I'll call him right back.
I still have the document.
Thanks.
And
Bye.
they said, sheriffs, these are your marching orders. This document details what you have to do to comply with the Brady Bill. And then they said, and there's no money for this. Sorry, you have to use your own money. You have to use your own budgets, your own resources, your own departments, your own people. Oh, and by the way, we probably need to tell you, this law has some sort of little attachment to it that says, if any of you fail to comply, you're subject to federal arrest. The first time in United States history that an unfunded, unconstitutional mandate was had attached to it a threat of arrest if we failed to comply. All absolutely true. All of it's documented here. I want to read this threat of arrest. It's right here on page 4 of this little booklet. The most powerful $2 booklet you'll ever read in your life. It says this: under a separate provision of the Gun Control Act, this modified the Gun Control Act in 1968, the Federal Gun Control Act. Any person who knowingly violates the section of the Gun Control Act amended by the Brady Bill shall be fined under this title. It doesn't say may. Shall be fined, imprisoned for no more than 1 year, or both. So you never heard so much cussing in your life. And all the sheriffs in Arizona were totally against this crap. And then we talked. And so what are we going to do about this? How are we going to stop this? And they started calming down. And every one of them said what Kevin said earlier. You can't fight City Hall. You can't fight the law. And I said, look, you guys, we don't need to do do any of this. The federal government cannot tell us what to do. Do you know who just came in here trying to give us orders? The BATF cannot order us to do anything. And let's get them back in here and give that document back to them and tell them to take it back to Washington and give it to Janet Reno and Bill Clinton and shove it up 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay?
God bless you, man.
No, they didn't want to do that. So they thought that would be setting a bad example. Could there have been any better example of us keeping our oath, just telling the federal government, no. In fact, we will scoff at you, we will laugh at you, trying to make us to do anything. And so I drove home. I had a 2.5-hour drive from Phoenix to Safford, Arizona, and right away I made my mind up about two things. One, I am not going to quit my job over this. Okay? Two, I am not going to comply. And so, but where does that take me? What can I do? Now I'm not going to comply, and I'm going to keep my job. So what do? They're going to arrest me. And so, by the time I drove up to my house, I'm going to go in there and see the pretty little blonde girl. It hit me, and I was scared to death. And guess what this did? It scared me so much, I'm actually shaking. I'm going to sue my own government. I'm going to sue them. I'm going to sue the Clinton administration. Anybody here really want to jump on board suing the Clintons? Oh, yes! We could make that list of people they don't like.